Hey guys, Ryan here. I am going to try to condense 2 days worth of ArcGIS Pro training down to about 10 minutes. Maybe leaving some stuff out, but I would just want to give you guys a sense of the basics of how to get in and around and use some of the tools in ArcPro. The first thing I want to point out here is ArcPro wants you to have an ESRI login. So very important to have this and get logged in order to use this. When you first open ArcGIS Pro, this is what you're going to see. If you have existing projects, they're going to be down on the left. If you can't find your project in there, you just open another project, and this will allow you to navigate to where your project is. After you've opened a few, though, it'll show up on the left-hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single-click on Watertown Utilities Flood Model. This is going to open up our project. And this is what our project looks like. Pretty standard fare if you've done any type of CAD or any type of GIS software use at all. But the long and the short is this is our table of contents. And in our table of contents, this is all of the different map layers that we have. The name of our map layer is WMU map, and that shows up right here in our map pane, of course. What we have for our contents is two different types of gas valves. Here is a gas valve that's displaying either shut off or not shut off, and this is our gas valves that we use for our flood modeling. And as you can see, our water level indicators. And I do the same thing for elevation points. So these are actual valves. The squares are not valves, they are just elevation points that were shot, so we can monitor any flooding and do modeling for the future. We also have our roads, our city limits. We do have 2-foot contours that I have in here. We don't have them turned on right now because it really clutters the map. Our lakes is visible, but I have them set to transparent because the thing that I'm mostly concerned about is the annotation that we're seeing. We also have parcels in thin black. We've got our floodplain. That's shut off as well. We can turn that on quickly just to see what it looks like and the different colors that I have. That can be used when you're doing any flood modeling or you want to see where the floodplain is. We have our pictometry image, which consists of, I believe, 6 different images that are all grouped together. And the last thing I have in here is our Cottington County aerial photo. This is from 2018. The difference is this one's a little newer, but this one here is at a much higher resolution. And this is put in there just so you can get an idea as to how that looks, or if you want to see a little bit newer photo. When we start navigating around the ArcGIS Pro, we have a series of different map tabs. And here they are. The default is map. Pretty straightforward, and the default tool is explore. If you hover over it, there's a pop-up that will tell you how to get around using this explore button. The easiest way to get around is just zooming and panning. You zoom in by rolling your mouse wheel up and down to zoom in, and you roll out and zoom out. If you zoom in and you hover over the gas valves, this is going to give you a little pop-up that will show you what the elevation is. If you want to zoom out, you zoom out. Another thing that you can do is hold the shift key down while you have this selected, and it will allow you to draw a box around the area you want to zoom into. So also very handy. Sometimes when you're zoomed in and you're doing work, say you have a different tool selected, like your select features tool, if you want to still pan quickly, you can hit the C button, and that's going to, while you hold that down, it's going to allow you to pan your view around. And then once you let go, it goes back to your select features tool. That's a handy shortcut to know. Outside of that, zoom to previous is a handy button to use as well. This button here is zoom to extent. One more thing that you can do with your explore button. Let's zoom in tight. If you want to quickly look at the information that is in your data, you can do a just a left click, and this is going to turn on your pop-up and allow you to look at the data that's in there. For example, if you click on a gas valve, you can see all the information associated in the database. So that is handy. One of the things that you can do, if you click down on Explore, you can see topmost layer, visible layers, selectable layers, selected in contents. This one is nice. If I want to go down to the parcels and just click on it to make it highlighted in blue, and then you do the click button, it's going to give me the parcels. If I want to do the gas valves, click on that one, and you get gas valves. So that is actually quite handy. And I like to leave that as a default, but that is up to you. One thing that is very, very important, and you're going to do this at some point, I virtually guarantee, is you're going to lose your table of contents because you're going to click on this little X button and it's going to go away. Or you're going to lose your map button because you clicked on the X and you got rid of it. Or your catalog button goes away. If we click on that, we'll click on it. All that stuff can be turned off, and it happens to novice users quite often, and they freak out because they don't know what to do. Well, this is how you get your panes back. You click on the View tab up here, and as you can see, Contents has its own pane. We can turn that on, and our Catalog pane, we can turn that on as well just by clicking here. There is a Catalog View. We can turn that on. It shows up right here. This is to give you more of a File Explorer type look, and this is fine, but I don't use it that often. But the big one we're missing here, we're missing Watertown Municipal Utilities map. Where is it? The way to get there is make sure that your catalog pane is turned on, which it is. Scroll over to your maps and double click on this, and your WMU map is right here. Double click that, and now we're back in business. This is very handy. Now, one of the things that I would like to show you how to do is select a feature and do some edits on these features. One of the things that Watertown Municipal Utilities wants to do is be able to track whether their valves are shut off or not in their ArcGIS. And the way to do that is to make sure that your gas valves are selectable. So what we'll do is we will click on this button right here under our table of contents. This is the one that says List by Selection, and we will make sure that we got one of these selected. We make sure that it's checked and turned on. If you're turned on, you are allowed to select these features and perform edits to them. So I'll go back to our drawing order. Now, as you can see, I have two different types of gas valves in here. One of them shows the flood model. The other one shows us whether or not the gas valve is shut off or not. And we will go in and change that using our Select Features button right here. And what we'll do is we will go in and select. We can draw a box around the points that we would like to edit. And once we get those selected, they show up highlighted in like a periwinkle type color. Once we get them selected, we can turn on our attributes, and that's going to show our attributes over here on the right hand side. As you can see, our gas valves, we have 8 of them selected. Now, what we can do is we can go through these one at a time and select these, or well, actually, I highlight these, and we can change them. The default is no on shut off. We can change these to yes just by clicking in a field and selecting yes in our pop-up menu. And we can also go into the date. We can either type in a date, or we can use the calendar feature to populate that for us. And once that goes in, there they are. The last thing we can do is we can type in a note. I like to use caps. And the reason why I like to use caps is so when you're querying that database, you don't have to worry about case sensitivity. Once we do these things, we can apply those changes, and there they are. Now I just changed one feature in there. If you want to change them all, what you will do is you'll click on the header up here where it says gas valves. And as you can see where it says shut off, it says different values. Shut off date, different values. All these values are different. So once we have this one highlighted, it is going to change all 8 of these. And when you do that, you hit apply, and all of these are going to change. Let's clear the values so that we can see them a little closer. Once those were just plain green, when I change the shutoff valves to yes to shut off, they put a dark X over each one of them. This is the best way I could find to display these in a readable way. But that is how you go in and you select features. You can select them one at a time. Just make sure you have your select up. And you can either select them one at a time, or you can hold your left mouse click down and just draw a box around these, and you'll grab everything that's there. If you want to add to your selected features, you hold your shift key down and draw another box, and it'll add. If you want to remove some, you hold your control key down, and it will unselect them. So these are handy shortcuts that you can use. One last thing, when you're doing your edits, when you're done editing, you want to save these edits. So what you'll do is you'll go to the edit pane on this tab and click your save. Once you save these edits, it's going to double check with you to make sure you want to save them. You hit yes, and now all of your edits are committed. The last thing that I'm going to do is show you how to use the flood modeling tools. And before I do that, I just want to show you we have WMU bookmarks. This is all of the different bookmarks that I've created for this project. We can add more later, but these are the ones we're starting with. So if you're doing some modeling around Lake Compesca, just click on the bookmark and click the Compesca bookmark, and it will zoom you to where you need to be. Alright, the last thing that I want to talk about is our flood modeling. In order to get to our flood modeling tools, we click on Catalog, and under the toolboxes, you can see that we have a flood modeling toolbox. This is where all of my tools are stored. Using Compesca as an example, we see that we have the Compesca flood model, and I zoomed into the Compesca bookmark, so we're right there looking at it. All you have to do is double-click the Compesca flood model and enter the elevation you want. Currently, I have 1718 in there. Let's change it to 1725 and run. As you can see, it's running. It says it's successful. Notice that nothing has changed. The reason why it hasn't changed is because the refresh doesn't work all that well in ArcPro for one reason or another. So what I do is I roll my mouse in a little bit. And as you do that, you can see that a lot of the stuff that was green is now red. It's now flooded. And if you look at the annotation, it was set to like 1718. Now it's set to 1725. And it changes the number of inches over or under full depending on the value that you enter. This is how this works. It's pretty straightforward. You have your geoprocessing tool up here. In order to get back, you just click on your catalog, and your tools are right here. Like I say, under Toolbox, you scroll down. If you have this open, all of these will be there. One of the things that we can do, we can change. We can run to McKinley, for example, and then we can run the McKinley tool. I'll change this to 1725 quickly as well, and we'll run. Zoom in a little, and as you can see, all of them turned red. 1725 is a pretty large number for this. But that's how the project works, getting around with our bookmarks. Anytime you're not sure, if your tools don't look familiar up here, it's likely because you're on the wrong tab. And the ones that we use the most are Edit, mostly to save and to select our features, get our attributes table. We can also clear the attributes when we're done editing them. And we like to use our map in order to get our information back, our different panes. And then the default one is map. This is the one we use just for panning and zooming, exploring, selecting features. and viewing. There's one more thing that I will show you quickly, is we can select these features here. Oh, wait, turn this on to elevation. We have to make sure that our elevation points are set as selectable, and we can select our elevation points as well. Another thing that we can do is we can go to our elevation points, right click, and open up the attribute table. And this is going to show you all of the information associated with our elevation points in a table view. That shows up down here on the bottom. And you can actually grab that and undock it if you want to, and you can pull it to another monitor. One thing that I will caution you, you do not want to have this table open when you are running your flood modeling tools. Much the same way, if you try to open a Word document while someone else already has it open and you're locked out so you can't edit it or you can't view it, it's the same premise here. For some reason, ArcPro does not let you run your macros with that table open because it thinks that the table is a separate application and it locks you out. If you close it, it will work just fine. So my advice is leave that table closed unless you're actually looking at something, and then close out of it right away. Because otherwise, when you start running your tools, it will error out on you. That is pretty much all I have. If you like this video, please feel free to hit subscribe. And Daddy has a truck payment to make, so if you feel like kicking into the Ryan Hartley Fund for going to be a retired GIS analyst someday, please feel free. Thank you. I appreciate it.